Putting Lem Marsh in the ground is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my 32 years as sheriff of this little podunk town. I've buried people before, don't get me wrong, but Lem was different. For starters, he was a true friend. That man would give you the shirt off his back if he thought you needed it more than he did. I couldn't tell you how many times he talked me down when I was moments away from just leaving this place and heading for greener pastures. But that was Lem, always eager to help. It nearly killed me the day his wife and son went missing. I mean, Dolly could have been my sister-in-law for all the times me and her old man spent shooting the breeze and playing rummy on their front porch. She used to come out with trays of fresh lemonade, always wearing a big, beautifully warm smile. And little Jack, he was like the son I never had. I couldn't believe it the day that Lem called me out to his place to file a missing persons report. He insisted up and down that Darla had taken Jack and run for her sister's place in Tallahassee. That idea never sat right with me, though. Darla was many things, but a deserter wasn't one of them. Then again, what were we supposed to think when she and Jack had stayed gone? Weeks went by with not a single sign of them. The weeks turned into months, which gave over to years. No matter how many days went by, there was just no sign of them. Not so much as a phone call or letter. The day before Lem died, he called me that morning in tears. I kept him talking until I could get into my dusty old Jeep and make my way out to his place. By the time I got there, he was a sobbing pile of grief, all curled up on his front porch. When I asked him what was wrong, he looked at me like I'd grown an extra head. "Look at this place, Sheriff!" he screamed at me. "Look at it!" I knew precisely what he meant. I'd simply chosen to ignore it. Lem Marsh was a Class A hoarder. That man had every inch of his house and property piled high with unnecessary and useless odds and ends. I'd often wondered if his hoarding had something to do with Darla and Jack's disappearance, but I never could have said that to Lem. How could I tell him that it was all his own fault? That he'd chosen a pile of worthless junk over his family? He was already so broken, I didn't have the heart to hurt him any further. And I thank God that Lem passed away a few weeks ago. If the cancer hadn't taken him, then I shudder to think what he might have done to himself. You see, after Lem died, his property was left to the state. There was no one else to take it. And of course, the state can't sell a property that is essentially an illegal landfill. So they sent in a cleanup crew and asked yours truly to oversee it. Everything was going according to plan, that is, until we got to the room that used to be Lem's kitchen. It had never occurred to me that a massive hoard like Lem's would be the perfect environment to mummify a human corpse. But that's how we found them. Poor Darla and little Jack. No one really knows what happened. Closest we can figure is that little Jack had found something he wanted out of the pile and brought the whole damn thing crashing down on himself and his mother when he tried to pull it free. Like I said before, it's a good thing Lem had already passed, because the sad truth of this discovery would have killed him anyway. On a regular morning, the walk from the main road to my house is like a walk on any normal road to any mainstream destination. Vendors laying out their paraphernalia to sell assortments of stuff. Some luring you in for plastic dolls. Some calling you to purchase fresh vegetables. You hear birds chirping in the trees as you walk by. Dogs play fighting and rolling on the vast, dusty roads. ambulances rushing to and from the hospital that towered over opposite the houses in our colony. However, walking on the same roads at night is a different ballgame. The trees look like bare arms with deformed fingers. The flickering lights turn the road into a horribly creepy discotheque, and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up as the soft voice of the one who haunts the road crawls up your ears, begging you to turn back. Now, I'm not a scaredy cat, but I avoid taking the road at night. That was until last night, when work ended beyond midnight and the bus dropped me on the main road. I calculated the walk home would take exactly 1.5 repetitions of Rap God. So I plugged my earphones in, kept my gait brisk, and hummed along to the rap. 2 minutes in, a sweet voice echoed in my ears, above that of Eminem's. I had never met the whoever or whatever it was that haunted the road at night. Hell, I didn't even believe something like that was even possible. But I had heard stories from folks. She first calls you out like a very cliched ghost, then tugs your arm, and then rips your guts out. When I heard my name echoing in the now forlorn road to my home, I switched from a walk to a jog, and then I felt a tug. A soft one at first, then impossibly strong. So I ran with a speed that I wasn't aware I possessed, and then I tripped. I woke up this morning with a throbbing headache and sweat beaded along my forehead. This usually happened when I was stressed or had a nightmare. I know it sounds very mainstream, but I really thought that the incident of last night was a nightmare, and relief washed over my mind. I brushed my teeth and ate my breakfast, but it turned out that my relief was only short-lived. I stood under the shower, letting the cold water hit my body. I picked up the almost dead bar of soap to apply on my body, and that's when I saw it. A faint red mark on the inner side of my right arm, shaped like fingers, just above the elbow. I might sound ridiculously childish, but it seemed to grow darker from the minute I noticed it, as if it was waiting for me to notice it. Not to mention the gradually increasing burning sensation it brought with itself. I let out a scream and ran out to apply an ointment, a cream, something, anything that would stop the pain, the mark. Nothing did. I am now lying balled up in a corner of my room. My arm feels like it is on fire, and the mark looks close to the shade of blood. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? My mother found her sitting in an antique shop window, an old worn china doll that was covered in cracks. Without hesitation, Mom went into the shop and haggled the lady down to a great price, judging by her excited glee as she handed over the cash. Mom named her Dolly. Her painted face was worn. Ruined eyes bobbled about inside the hollow sockets of her fragile head, clacking as they darted unpredictably around the room. The once vibrant smile now faded and just barely visible. Mom placed Dolly next to the rest of her dolls, which were scattered around messily all over her bedroom. Mom was a doll fanatic, and it drove Dad insane. He didn't understand her obsession, and with each new doll she bought, an argument would ensue. Ever since Mom bought Dolly, her behavior changed drastically. Dolly seemingly moved around the house on her own. She appeared in the strangest of places, from the washing machine to the garage. and I was hearing little pitter-pattering of feet outside my bedroom door at night. Months passed, and my parents' relationship deteriorated. Dad made Mom choose between him or the dolls. Mom chose the dolls. When Dad left, Mom became completely detached, now thinking of her dolls as sentient things that listened as she sung them lullabies. She arranged the dolls in a circle on the floor and placed Dolly in the center as she spoke to them. One night I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I heard Mom talking to her dolls as she now normally did. Only this time I heard something talking back. Each time my mother spoke, a high-pitched voice would reply. At first it was inaudible, but as I slowly crept nearer to her bedroom, my mother's distressed voice became clearer, as did the other voice. "I won't," my mother said through sobs. "Yes, you will," the voice replied. "But he's my son," my mother replied. My heart beat in my chest as I slowly approached the bedroom door. Then I heard the strange voice again. "Shh! He's coming!" I walked into my mother on the floor, face glistening with tears. She looked in a daze as she stared at me unblinkingly. The dolls were in a circle in front of her. "What's going on?" I asked. "Nothing. Go back to bed," Mom replied. "Why are you crying?" I asked. "Me and Dolly just had a disagreement is all," Mom said as she continued to stare. "Mom, they are just dolls," I replied. Mom's face became angry and her pupils dilated. "You shouldn't have said that," Mom shouted. Suddenly Dolly's head turned towards me. Then the other dolls' heads followed. I recoiled back and let out a pathetic whimper. Mom's pupils had become so large that her eyes were nothing but black voids, and she spoke in a voice so unnatural and high-pitched that it couldn't possibly be her own. "Dolly wants to play." Let me start off by saying that I love my girlfriend Chloe, and she is incredibly perfect in nearly every way. Her only downside is that she is incredibly competitive. Every little thing turns into a competition with her. The thing she loves to do most is challenge me to races. She always wins and loves to rub it in my face. I try not to let the annoyance show on my face, as I do love her. Over the last few weeks, she has constantly been leaving me behind as she wants to get home safely. I keep asking her to stay close to me, as it is safer that way. She just shrugs it off and tells me to stop being a baby about it. Today we were looking for food when we had to make a quick retreat. Chloe was a few feet ahead of me when I stopped and twisted my ankle. I let out a scream of agony and she came back to help me. We tried to move as quickly as we could, but it was obvious we wouldn't make it, and I knew that I had no choice. I slid the knife out of my pocket and plunged it into her leg. She collapsed to the ground screaming obscenities at me. I hobbled on as quickly as I could and reached the street corner. I looked back just in time to see the undead horde start tearing her apart. Wake-up call. How we doing, pal? The distorted voice crackles through a walkie-talkie that seems to be duct-taped to my hand. Where am I? My head aches as I try to piece together whatever it was that happened, before I fell into darkness. I tried to sit up, but quickly realized that's impossible, not only because of the fog that seems to be inhabiting my brain, but also because of the dimensions of whatever I'm lying in. There's hardly enough room to roll over, let alone lift my head. The panic starts deep inside my chest. Hello? Can you hear me? I raise the device to my face, doing my best to pry my tongue from the roof of my mouth. Where am I? What's happening? My voice sounds far away, like it's coming to me through a dream. You're, buried 6 feet under, you know. I press against the wood, suddenly overwhelmed by claustrophobia. All right, listen. You only have so much oxygen left in there, so don't waste your energy trying to escape. There's only one way out, and all you have to do is answer a few questions. Sound good? Let me out, you fucking psycho. Remember what I said about that oxygen. Save your breath. Literally. The voice cackles like a madman before tapering off into a wheeze. All right. Question number 1. What is your greatest fear? I can't think of anything worse than what's currently transpiring. Being tortured by some sick freak, I respond, punching at the wood again. Interesting. Very interesting answer. But are you certain that's your worst fear? There's nothing that weighs on your mind every waking moment? Something that you've never told a soul? I can feel my lungs struggling to keep air in them. They're starting to burn. I know my time is running out. Okay, Yes? I'm afraid that someone will find out about what happened to her. Good answer. Okay, question number 2. How long did you keep her alive before you killed her? I swallow bile, knowing the only other option is to let it erupt over my face. I can't remember. I admit trying to push the images of her broken body from my mind. Oh, now that's a shame. Fortunately, I have the answer right here. Looks like it was a whole week of torment before she finally, mercifully, passed away. Please just let me out. I'll do anything. I'll confess, I beg. You already have, my friend. Many, many times. What we're doing here, this is for fun. You understand? Just a way to give her family some closure. Question 3, a 2-parter. Do you know how many times we have already dug you up and revived you? Do you have any idea how long we can keep you alive? No, let me out, please. Oh, I'm sorry. We would have accepted anything over a week. Better luck next time. How long have you had these dreams? 2, maybe 3 years now? It's hard to keep track when I'm so damn tired all the time. What happens in these dreams? The scenery is always different. One dream, I'm inside a lighthouse, and the next I'm back at school. The only thing that stays the same is the Rainbow Man. Tell me more about this Rainbow Man. He scares me. I always feel his gaze on me, with those rainbow eyes that seem to stare right into my soul. In fact, I can feel him watching me now. Why does he scare you? He hides in my dreams, disguising himself as people I know, and taunts me. What does he do? In last night's dream, I was a child again, sitting on a park bench, eating ice cream with my mother. Only it wasn't really her. It was him. I could tell because her eyes were changing color every time she blinked. What happened next? My mother just stared at me with those rainbow eyes. Her mouth began to horribly twist into a mocking grin, revealing horrible, shark-like teeth. Then her face began to melt, slowly dripping down her cheeks like hot wax. All the while her eyes flickered with colors. Interesting. Do you remember anything else? That's the thing, I don't. The moment I look into those rainbow eyes, I'm unable to look away. It's like I'm in a trance. I get lost in the rainbow. Then I wake up in a sweat. You get lost in the rainbow? It's like I'm looking into a whirlpool of colors that is slowly pulling me in. I could feel it draining me, but after that it's all a blur. Then I wake up. It drains you? Yes, I feel weak. My bones have turned brittle, and as you can clearly see, my complexion is as gray as a corpse. My eyes have sunken, and my teeth have fallen out. I'm only 25, goddammit. The Rainbow Man is slowly killing me. Do you feel like you're dreaming now? No, at least I don't think so. What makes you so certain? He would have revealed himself to me by now. It's never long before he shows up. There are dreams that can never be woken from. I'm sorry, what? Some dreams are eternal. Huh? Dreams are a gateway into other dimensions. Sometimes you go through the wrong door, and then every time you wake up, you are in another dream. You're not making any sense. What I am saying is, you are stuck in an endless loop of dreams, which you will never wake from. No, don't say that. It's not true. You're lying. Have you not wondered? What? You really are stupid, aren't you? Nothing you say makes any sense. Have you wondered why I've been wearing sunglasses this whole time? I had recently suffered some major losses. All of us there had. There were 6 of us seated in a circle. I was staring down at my backpack, as I could hardly face people these days. It was a group therapy session for victims of attempted homicides by a notorious serial killer. We were told it was a safe place to talk about our trauma. Everyone there had had a near miss with death. Some had a few truly terrible scars, and others still bandaged. One by one, we took turns around the circle, describing the awful mask the killer wore when he attacked his victims, how he preyed on people when they were alone at home, and the trademark machete that he used to butcher people. As my turn approached, all I could think about was a crushing regret that 5 people had escaped the first time. How ingenious it was of me to have found a way to tie up some loose ends, and how my mask and machete were calling to me from my backpack.